On to this item 16, committee structure. We've tried to line committees up with Phil's directorates for clear oversight and accountability. You said you wanted fewer meetings, and some of you are keen for more recess weeks to get out in the community. We've gone away and talked to pretty well all of you about how this could work. Somewhere or other we managed to create more committees, but this should mean fewer meetings, particularly those very long ones. Well, this is the governing body. We've adjusted the work programs and memberships, considered your feedback and landed on some pretty pragmatic places, something quite pragmatic. The report in your agenda outlines the new structure, which has been fiddled around with and just sent around in front of you right now. Since the agenda was published on Monday, we've had a few small changes and updated the structure to provide you at this meeting. As a result of these changes, there's a small amount of remuneration pool left, which will be distributed evenly across councillors, excepting me. The other important component to this report relates to the Auckland Transport Board's appointments. I don't think any councillor should spend the whole term on AT's board, and I'm recommending we appoint Councillor Williamson, a former Minister of Transport, as the newest AT board member. Together, Councillor Williamson and Councillor Darby will do a good balanced job of getting our council's complicated point of view across to the AT's board. Councillor Baker, thank you for what you've done, but I think you'll do a good job leading the Transport Resilience and Infrastructure Committee, knowing how AT operates and responds to our directions. I'm going to move this. I believe Councillor Baker will second it. Thank you very much. I'll open up for... anybody to question, really? Questions? You can question any me or the Chief Executive. I've got questions from Councillor Sayers.
Yeah, just one quick question. Your Worship, just for the public record, in terms of the chairmanships of other committees that will be undertaken by yourself, would you like to elaborate on any others that aren't covered, that you don't have to vote on, so they're not up there, but they are changes that you're making to chairmanships? You're looking at me to go into the budget committee, and that just isn't, that's the only one that's not mentioned, but we don't have to vote on it.
Just read out the chairs and deputies of the committees, Chair.
Well, the only thing is Councillor Baker is staying on the CDEM. The ones I've been told about are Councillor Williamson replacing Councillor Fletcher on audit.
Mayor, I think Councillor Sayers was referring to the...
and Councillor Leone replacing Councillor Foley on community. That's all I'm aware of.
Can you just read out the chairs?
The chairs, as I understand them, are Transport, Resilience and Infrastructure is Chair Baker, Deputy Fletcher. Policy and Planning, Hills and Dalton. Budget, Sayers and Henderson. Civil Defence, Councillor Stewart and Councillor Filipina. On the Audit and Risk as the Independent Chair and Councillor Watson. On Regulatory and Safety is Councillors Bartley and Foley. And Revenue Expenditure Deputy is the Deputy Mayor Simpson and Councillor Sayers. Parks and Committee, Councillor Turner, Deputy Councillor Lee. Community, Chair Delton, Deputy Councillor Ferry. CCO Oversight, Councillor Henderson and Councillor Leone. And Performance and Appointment, Councillor Newman with Councillor Lee. That's what I've got at the moment. And then we have other positions. The Auckland Future Fund lead will be Councillor Fletcher. Thank you very much for that. Ports of Auckland lead stays with Councillor Darby. Water Care with Councillor Turner. Iki Panuki with Councillor Dalton. Tātaki Deputy Mayor. Advisory Panels, Councillor Ferry. Maori Outcomes, Councillor Leone. Police and Community Safety, Councillor Filipina. Joint Governance, Councillor Ferry. Auckland Transport Directors, Darby and Williamson. That's what I've got. And then there are various makeup of the things underneath, so you can all check to see where you are. That's where I've got to at the moment. Does that answer your question? Thank you very much. Councillor Walker, please.
So I've got a question. I had a brief chat with Stu, who gave me a call, really didn't know anything apart from that. And I just have an interest that I'd put to you. I wasn't asked, but I would have an interest in being on the Parks Committee, if that's possible. It's not a big deal. I'm not a chair or a deputy.
I'm quite sure we can accommodate that, sir.
Okay, that's all.
Very good with that. Happy with that. Thank you, sir. And I think of the Hauraki Gulf Maritime Board, Councillor Watson will replace Councillor Baker on that one there. Okay? That's all the changes that we've got there, and that's the new thing. No further questions? Well, it's been moved and seconded. I'll put that. All those in favour? I'm sorry, Councillor Watson.
Yeah, if I could just say, make a couple of quick comments, Mr Mayor, if that's all right, and just speaking to the committee structure changes first, and then to the AT board appointments. I guess it didn't really emerge in the paper itself, but certainly as one of the individuals who are very thoughtfully being offered a career change opportunity at this late stage in proceedings, I just wanted to give a couple of acknowledgements. It will be my last opportunity to do that, and certainly I wanted to acknowledge the people in the Transport and Infrastructure team, the Barry Potter, Mara Bebic and Lara Smith, who have been really excellent and outstanding, really made that a great committee to be part of, and have appreciated their kind of honesty and forthrightness there. Similarly with Councillor Fletcher, who's been incredibly supportive and knowledgeable and effective presence in that committee. Thank you, Chris. I really appreciated your loyalty, and in fact, I've really appreciated the positive and supportive attitude from all councillors. So thanks, everyone. That's been a real nice aspect of the job, and it's been helpful because a little bit of effort did have to go in to get this committee up and running. There was or has been no Transport or Infrastructure Committee for pretty much the last decade, so we did have a little bit of a job to do to try and build constructive relationships, not just with AT but with NZTA and Kiwi Rail, and also with some of the people in the private transport industry groups who have a bit of expertise to bring to the table. And that goes to the members of the public too, who certainly Chris and I made a conscious effort to try and encourage people to come into the public forum, and that's one of the highlights as far as I'm concerned, is actually getting Aucklanders in here and letting us know firsthand how their experience in their transport network goes. As far as the transport appointments go, however, I guess that there's been a number over the course of this term, and I would just probably make the observation that never before would I say there's been a opportunity for the Mayoralty to make widespread changes in transport. I mean, if you just reflect back in terms of personnel, in a relatively short space of time, we've had a new CEO of Auckland Transport, we've had a new chair of the AT board. In fact, we've had an entirely new board, all 7 members, new external appointments. We've had a committee of the whole dealing largely with transport, and today that committee gets refreshed again. As far as the AT directors go, we're up to the 4th councillor on that particular merry-go-round. Some last a matter of months, some enjoy a little bit more longevity for whatever reason, but we're up to 4 people on that. And I guess taken as a whole, that change of personnel across the transport sector, if I can use that phrase, it's a little bit like Britomart Station at rush hour or Glasgow Cross on a Friday night. There's people coming and going, and I guess just the one sort of serious observation I would make is that, and it's a genuine one, is what that's meant, certainly in terms of some of the anecdotal feedback from people, other stakeholders or groups that have kind of pointed out to me a lack of clear direction and consistency. That was been one of the issues they've got. Some of the people are a little less charitable that and called it a little shambolic and chaotic, really, kind of approach, drawing analogies to the Trump White House, but that's maybe being a bit unkind. But certainly that lack of clear direction from personnel and contradictory messages is something that I hear coming through on a pretty regular basis. But for all that, I'd certainly wish all the latest round of transport appointees all the very best in their roles, and I look forward to supporting you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Councillor Filipaina, please.
Thank you, Chair. Having been sitting around this table since 2011, when the Auckland Council started, and having been chair right from the start of the term, of Auckland City, Auckland Council. John, I just want to acknowledge your work in regards to the Transport Infrastructure Committee. And there's an old saying that we used to have in the police, and maybe somebody for all these older people around here, but I'm not trying to piss in your pocket. Okay, I am genuine when I say that the way you ran your committee, I just want to acknowledge that because I knew where we all stood. I think everybody that came into the public arena knew where they stood in regards to that. And this is not a slight on the person who's going to take your place. It's just for me to acknowledge your work on that committee. So look, that's really all I need to say. I look forward, obviously, as I have always, to work with Andy. But John, I can say to you that the talks, and the interesting thing, this is my last point I want to make to you. The interesting thing is that a lot of the agenda items that you have had on your committee with you and Councillor Fletcher, if I had any issues, I would talk to you. I would talk to you, we would sort it out. That way, at least from my perspective, I wouldn't be doing anything or to disrupt any of the agendas that you had on your committee, because everything had been sorted. So to you, John, ngā mihi ki a koe, which is, I thank you so much. Thank you, Chair.
Very good, thank you, Alf. Deputy Mayor Simpson, please.
Yeah, Alf, you've just stolen my thunder, really. I wanted to acknowledge two special people. One, I'll start with you, Councillor Baker. Everybody tells me you've done a very good job on Auckland Transport, so thank you for your work there, and I wish you all the best for your new role. John, thank you for your role as Chair of TEC. And to Morris, I want to say thank you for your role. You left big shoes for me to fill. You've exceeded year one and you're well on the way to year two. And to everybody else that's got a new role. Look, there's a lot to be said. Change is a good big thing. I don't think life and constant is change. Let's all work together and see if we can continue making this place even better. Thank you.
For that, Councillor Newman, please.
Yes, look, thank you, Your Worship. There's some changes here that I probably won't comment on. I'll have my conversations with my constituents, but if I can just say to you, Councillor Watson, I'm deeply sad because I think that your leadership in that transport space has been, in the former committee, has been really good, and I've enjoyed the conversations that you have facilitated around the table in that particular role. Thank you. Councillor Baker, I think that I listen, you and I probably aren't as close as possibly we should be, but frankly I think that you do try and steer the middle path in the transport space, and I acknowledge that. I think that's really good because I get uncomfortable with some of the transport discussion, reflection around this table on occasion, and I find some of it to be quite galling. So I'm sure that you will continue to apply your pragmatic analysis to that. There have been a number of changes in relation to the AT director appointments. Your Worship, that's been noted. I want to express to Councillor Williamson, I think that your experience as a former minister, as a person who has more experience at that level than anyone else around here, makes you suitably qualified for it. But I do hope, Your Worship, if I can say one thing, I think that we've just had an item with respect to the Auckland Future Fund, which really demonstrates Councillor Fletcher's stewardship, which I think is outstanding, and yet, given her excellent stewardship and oversight skills, she's not in the CCO Direction and Oversight Committee. And I wondered, and whilst that particular fund will be reported back to a committee of the whole, I do wonder if you could potentially look at ways in which I think that oversight could be addressed in coming days, because I think that Councillor Fletcher has real skills in that particular space, a lot of experience, and I hope that you can tweak that to accommodate her, because I think it would be valuable for this for the council. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that input. And we'll note it. Councillor Lee, please.
I just want to thank Councillor Watson for his leadership in the Transport Committee. The Transport Committee, as he himself noted, was in recession for 6 long years. Under his leadership and his open door policy, the Transport Committee, Transport and Infrastructure Committee, properly called, was extremely popular with Aucklanders and groups concerned with transport in Auckland. So I want to thank him for that. You'll be missed in that role. I also want to thank him for his integrity and staunchness. And I have to say, forgive me if I do so, that from personal experience, I do believe there is some connection between this item and the preceding item. But anyway, thank you very much, John. History will think well of you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Councillor Walker.
I'll just add my voice to the chorus, emphasising the exemplary way that Councillor Watson chaired the Transport and Infrastructure Committee. Across any metric that I can think of, any evaluation, I think he did a great job. Frankly, I don't comprehend why he isn't continuing, but certainly it was a committee that I actually enjoyed going to. I think most of us enjoyed it because it was collegial. It was open to new information that we needed to hear from people in the transport industry. We had, I think, an enhanced relationship with Kiwi Rail and also NZTA, Whakakatahi, and we were able to ask penetrating questions of Auckland Transport. So, John, I think you did very well, okay? And I was always interested in attending those meetings. And on another note, I'm disappointed that Councillor Williamson doesn't have a place on the Revenue Committee. I think he has a skill set that was well suited to that position. And again, I do not comprehend, I don't comprehend that. So it's as much all as I can say. I've got some people on either side of me that I value and I think have done an excellent job. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good about that too. Councillor Fletcher.
Thank you, Your Worship. My understanding of the situation that we have today is that whilst we have, as a governing body, the ability to appoint or replace members of the board of Auckland Transport, the prerogative of putting committee structures and the governance is exclusively yours under the Auckland legislation. So in making the comments that I want to make, I'm I am mindful that it is our responsibility, it's on our watch, the appointments that we have to the board. So I've got to be honest, I'm really greatly saddened about the loss of John Watson from the Transport Committee. He's been an excellent chair. He's one of those that doesn't speak after everybody else has spoken. He's succinct, he's fair, he's quite wise. He's been to the forefront in ensuring that we go and do site visits so we know what we're talking about, that we bring in NZTA, that we bring in Kiwi Rail and drill down into what the fundamental challenges are. He's been totally committed to an integrated transport plan and the time of use legislation that is, it's defeated, councils and governments for the last 25 years. And I feel that we're on the cusp of a breakthrough. But I acknowledge that it's your prerogative, sir. So I'm not going to challenge you over that. I had written to you explaining that I didn't really have an appetite for continuing on. And I felt that because it's been a really wonderful collaboration. We were very lucky when Phil Wilson was willing to ensure that we had such an excellent director that we worked with in Barry Potter and the team that worked below him. And we met most weeks, at least 5 times a week. It was a busy time, but it was a productive time. And I feel that in many ways, a lot of the good that came out of that collaboration could be lost. I haven't heard from Councillor Baker, but I know that he has wonderful skills and he brings current knowledge of the Board of Auckland Transport. And if there was one thing that I thought we shared, Your Worship, it was the desire that there be legislation passed by Parliament to enable us to put our own regional land transport package together. It is absolutely and patently absurd that we can't do that. It's just ridiculous. So I sincerely hope that you have some game plan, some strategy for seeing this advanced. I was rather amused to see Winston Peters put forward, whether he gets it out of the biscuit tin or not, Lord only knows. Not too many members of Parliament actually have private members' bills being advanced. I can actually put my hand up and say I'm one of the few. The Cancer Registry Act was one that was passed all the way through. However, they don't happen too often. But maybe we had socialised the issue and the ludicrous situation that we have on that to such a point that the parliamentary wing are beginning to listen to us. And all I would say is that the request that John has made to you on many occasions is that the advocacy for transport be government to council. And rather than, none of us particularly like nepotism, oh, well, I'm related to this one, or I'm married to that one, or whatever else it might be. The facts speak for themselves in terms of what's important to be ambitious for transport in Auckland. And we should demand, as the largest city in New Zealand, that these ministers come and front up to us and work with us on the legislation we need to be functional and to advance, ironically, that's the old, Auckland City, advance Auckland, but we do need to advance in order. I had a long conversation, Tamsin might be interested to know, with my daughter last night because I was not going to continue, and she persuaded me that I should try it for a month or so and see whether the collaboration with Andy will work, or is he going to revert to being a good King's College old boy, or is he going to be a new age feminist supporter, or I'm not terribly sure what style we will have from Andy. But one thing I know is this is not about ego and should not be about ego. This has to be about what's best for Auckland. So I'll give it a go for a while, but if it doesn't work, well, it doesn't work and we can try something else. but I'm interested to know how you see the interaction between these committees, because as you've already had pointed out, you know, there's a few weak points in what I can see here. And the other thing is, and I'm going to tick you off for this, you promised us for your committees. You might think, oh, well, you know, we've just tweaked a few here and there. And while I am totally in favour of the establishment of a Parks Committee, because I feel that we haven't delivered, and this was something that was advised to you at the beginning of this term, that parks, if we're doing it properly, take up an awful lot of time. But in general, I have to reflect the concern that I've got, that we've got to show the discipline of having fewer committees and getting this place to be more efficient. And this started off with an informal discussion amongst ourselves. The LTP got through because we prioritised enough time to sit down and talk to each other and actually work out what our priorities were. Please let it not become little mice on the treadmill just going through the attendance at committees. You know, that was the hallmark of the former council, the former mayor. We all just sat through endless meetings. Let's make these productive. Let's all of us feel that we're using our time effectively, and let's change things for the better for Auckland. But I'm very sad to see the loss of John Watson. I think he's a man of honour and integrity, and I look forward to working with him informally as we go forward.
I don't think we've actually lost him, but I do take your point. Less meetings is what we really need rather than less committees, and I'm going to work on trying to have less meetings. In terms of working with the government to get where we're going, we're spending a lot of time meeting with the government this time, and so I take all those things on point, and I will respect them all. Thank you very much for that, Councillor Stewart.
Thank you. I too just want to thank John for what he's done around the council table on transport, and I'm sure that you'll be able to assist Andy in his new role if he needs any help, alongside with Councillor
Christine
Fletcher. Sorry, just about losing my voice.
Entirely forgettable.
Sorry, I'm just about losing. I'm even looking at you. Sorry about that. And I was just going to say, I want to welcome Alf Filipina, Councillor Alf, to the Civil Defence Committee, and we've already made contact just now. I don't know if you've read my little message, and anyway, so that's all good. But one of the things that I think we really need to concentrate on is that I think, can we, excuse me, I'm just about losing my voice, can we make sure that the committee agendas that are seeking any funding that's going to cost the ratepayers, they need to go to a pre-approved and be approved by the Revenue and Expenditure Committee. And I think it's really important that before everything goes out to the agenda, you know, out to, say, the community agenda or transport agenda or whatever, we need to know what kind of money it's going to be costing us, and I think that's what we need to do. And I just want to say, after watching the video that the Mayor, I don't know if you've all seen the video that the Mayor's just had made, and it was all about cost savings and what he's wanting all of us to do around this table. So I think that's the reason why he's made all these changes. But I think if we start making sure that the revenue and expenditure, first of all, have a look at what's going on the agenda, because quite often we get stuff that goes on some of these agendas that are very, very costly, and you know, we end up voting, and we spend a lot of time around the table discussing them. So I just think that would sort of cut some of that out. And the other thing, which I think could be very useful, is we have a lot of people that like to come and speak around the council table, and sometimes they do it on days when we've got really big agendas and we're voting on some very, very, very big items, that maybe we could do something like, and I'm sure Councillor Williamson can just explain what they do in Parliament. Maybe on a Friday we could have days where if any councillors want to come and have a listen, people can come in and they could have a Talk Time Friday or something like that. And that would probably be very, very useful. And anybody that's got something that they're particularly interested in, they can come and listen to whoever's wanting to come and speak, because quite often we do have a lot of people that come to some of our committee meetings, and it can be quite time consuming, and sometimes when we've got really, really important things to vote upon, quite often they're very late in the piece, and quite often we have councillors that start leaving early or getting a bit tired. So that's just my 10 cents worth.
And a very good 10 cents worth it
Sorry
was.
about that,
I think that
just about losing my
I will
voice.
definitely note the suggestion that unbudgeted excess suggestions all go to revenue and expenditure before they do, and I think that will be noted already by Chair Simpson and Deputy Chair Sayers. We're wanting you to be more of a pressure on preventing additional run-in costs. It's accepted very much there. Councillor Bartley, please.
Thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge Councillor Watson and the way he chairs the Transport Committee. I really appreciated your approach, your leadership, your openness, and bringing in the different agencies. I enjoy transport this term. Haven't previous terms, but I'm enjoying it this term, and I thank you for how you run that committee and your openness and making sure that we understand everything that's being discussed. So thank you, John.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, no more. I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. To the contrary, carried. Thank you very much for that, ladies and gentlemen. We're now going to move on to item 17, the terms of reference. With the changes to the committees, we also need to change the terms of reference. Andrew Pickering will come and tell us about this. Is largely procedural. Andrew, bore us to tears, please.
Good afternoon, councillors. This is a procedural report just reflecting the changes the Mayor has just announced in the previous piece. So I shall. Oh, it's a procedural report, just changing the terms of reference to give effect to the decisions that you've just made in the previous report.
Moved and seconded. Any particular questions of Andrew? He's been waiting all day long to have a bloody hard
Yes,
question.
I have a question. Andrew, with regards the Parks Committee, I'm hoping that specific reference will be made to the Auckland Botanic Gardens, so that for policy work for Auckland Botanic Gardens, and there is a block of land, you will recall the Nathan land, that is under consideration. There's quite a bit of important policy work to be undertaken, and I'd just like to be very clear about where that will sit.
The responsibilities there are matters that may have close connection with the committee's work programme, such as access to Muriwai Beach or Botanic Gardens work programme. So that's sitting in the Parks Committee.
And in terms of reporting back on right at the moment for the Hauraki Golf Forum, we've got really some important issues with Kalerpa, with avian flu and other things. Can you tell me how that will report back? Will that be to the governing body or will that be to the Parks Committee?
I'd need to take advice on that.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, carried. Does that get us to the end of this? Consideration of extraordinary business. None. Can we go home now?
No, you're going to go into confidential.
We're going to go to confidential and welcome Karuna and John. All those in
Yeah. Councillor Simpson moved it.
Simpson moved us into secrecy.
Yes.
I'll move us into secrecy and second it. All in favour be secret. Don't show yourself, it'll be a secret ballot, righto.
Okay, 5 minutes, please.
5 minutes while we secretify everybody.
Councillors Foley and Leone.